So I had a case where I had, it was a mother and a son, actually both. And I really was focused on intervention for the son. And shout out to that mother, because was a very strong woman. But all of her children had mental health illnesses, and she did also. So she would have times where she would tell me, I hate my children. I hate what I've done to my children. I hate that I'm like this, and I hate that my children are like this. So I came to the house one day for an intervention for the son, and I was really taken back from an episode that happened with the daughter.
This is another episode of Mental Health Monday. Appreciate y'all for pulling back up. Here with my host, Jory. What's up? Handshake we've been working on.
Okay.
Hey, Neek, how are you? How you doing?
Wonderful.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Tell the people who you are and what it is that you do.
Hi guys, I'm Shanika. I am a PSH case manager, which stands for Permanent Supportive Housing. And I'm a mental health advocate and all-around person who loves the community.
Why is your job necessary?
So my job is necessary to the homeless in DC. We help try to end homelessness, what we're in hopes of, and have people in places.
Tell me about your job.
So I am a PSH, which is Permanent Supportive Housing case manager for the homeless and mental health. I was previously a CSW, which is a community support worker who works in the streets of DC for mental health, helping them find shelter, therapists, getting the medication, and just helping with their everyday mental health needs and getting them goals. I've worked in the shelter, and I've always volunteered just with the homeless in general. Yeah.
What's that work like?
It's a lot. I would say the main goal that I have for myself is just making sure that I'm not overwhelmed and that I keep my mental health first. And by doing so in hobbies, taking time to meditate, and also just sometimes I have to check my own energy before I go in the presence of someone else. So,
what are the pros and cons with that kind of work?
The pros are being able to reach out to people in the streets and create these bonds of trust where they may have went through 10, 100 to how many case managers, and being able to build rapport. And when you have some moments where you're noticing that they are becoming trusting in you, because the main thing, you have to meet people where they are. It's one thing to have expectations for someone, but also respecting their own boundaries. So when you build a rapport and you find a place where they're like, you know what, I remember you mentioned that you can help me find a therapist. I think I'm ready. Those are the things that make me very happy. The cons are sometimes, because of my role or anyone who's worked, in that field, you can only do so much within your job where you would like to do more, but you're restricted. I was saying earlier to you how I feel like most of the time, especially in housing, we'll sit down and watch this video and it's like, oh, if someone's homeless, it's costing the city $40,000. So let's just throw them into a unit or an apartment where, so the real factors why they're homeless and the mental illness and the things that happened before the street homelessness are never addressed. And if it is, it's cut very short. And I feel like that's why it's just an endless cycle. So that's my number one con about doing what I do.
So what's the most common misconception that general people have about someone who is homeless and how they got there?
I feel like the number one misconception is that they just don't want a home, that they chose to be homeless, which in some cases may be true, but in others it's not. I feel like a lot of times these are things that also aren't addressed, because if they were getting help for their mental, health needs, they would be able to have SSI. They would be able to have resources, whether someone would be like, well, they can just get a job. But it's really not that easy. So I feel like that's the number one misconception, that it's a choice for them, when most of the time it's really not.
Their mental illness interferes with their ability to keep employment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was told now, so like the goals that we set, that's one of the things, they have to get a job. And I'm like, it's just not that easy for everyone. So I feel like it's a lot of disconnect between because we're like the little man, the people who are helping and the people who are funding. Because the people who are funding will never understand what it's like to spend a night on a bench. They'll never understand what it's like to replay childhood trauma and have different people to talk to about it. And because the turnover rate is so high, yet they're tired of talking about it. They're triggered over and over again, and it just keeps building these walls. So yeah, I think that's the number one misconception.
When you say the turnover rate, you mean like caseworkers like yourself leave the industry and then they have to start over with a new caseworker.
Yes.
Until they just give up after a while.
They absolutely do. And then that's when, they give up, they'll leave the program, they're back to the streets because it's safe and that's what they know. And that's more so what they can trust rather than people.
Would you say that you've picked up on certain things that developed from being homeless compared to being housed? That's all of us.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of cases, when they are housed, most people, I feel like, just want security. They just want security. They want to know that it's somewhere they can go to lay their head down. They want to know that they're going to find a way to have food every day. They want to know that they're going to have heat when they come home. But after that, it's still, you're in a place physically, but you're still in the same place mentally. So that's where I feel the resources need to come more so. Because while you're in that place, you're there. But a lot of times, they're okay with that at first, but they resort right back to, oh, you know what? I still don't feel comfortable. So you might have someone who is in a unit, but they'll still tend to go outside and sleep in a tent at least 3 times a week. And those are the things that I feel like need to be addressed more, because even though you're in a new place physically, it's still things that are disconnected mentally.
When it comes to family development, what issues do you run into with supporting that community and trying to provide better for them?
That's a good question. With family development, I feel, as in most cases, I'm used to working with individuals. and not more so in the family dynamic of it, but I do find a repetitive habit of a lot of the individuals. They are stuck behind mentally because of the traumas from their family. We have a thing, inside of our brain. I remember I was reading Becoming Supernatural, and one of the examples was a lady, and she was divorced, and when she got divorced and she had her children, everything that after she had her great job, her home, everything kind of stopped mentally right there at the trauma that she faced. And I feel like that's the case with the family dynamic with a lot of my clients. They need to go back to the root of their childhood. Even with chakras, like, you can't go straight to the crown. You have to start at the root. And at the root, I think about with child development, when you're a child, you want approval. You want approval from your mom. You want approval from your dad. I made you a picture. How do you like my picture? Everything starts from your childhood. So I feel like a lot of unaddressed things are why mentally we can stop exactly there and we're not able to develop any further. So the family trauma within individuals, I feel like, is based off of their trauma as children.
What do you think is a better way that DC can go from attending to numbers and make it more, all right, where's the empathy and family building in the program outside of just housing?
I think that we need resources because when I think about trauma and building, it's also great to have, therapists, or we can have them talk to, clinical managers, but I think that it needs to be more of a community aspect where so they can come together. We can have meditation, we can have classes, where we talk about things like this, and that's not more so what they focus on, but I think that would be very helpful. Wellness groups. Oh, you can come on Monday, we can address this. You could come Tuesday here, rather than the focus just be jobs and housing.
So when they house the homeless, is it like all of them are going to one building, or is it kind of just like wherever there is an open apartment, that's where they stick them?
So one good thing about DC, they do have, I believe, every apartment that you see everywhere around the city, it's supposed to be rent reasonable, or if you do have a voucher that you can move in. Mm-hmm. So everywhere is for the homeless. Mm-hmm. So any building you see, if you can walk up and you ask them, hey, do you accept vouchers? If they say no, then that's not the case. They do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
To accomplish what you're suggesting, where they gather and support each other, I feel like they all would need to be in a centralized location, right? Like, it's going to be hard to go from northwest to southeast to this one place to say, like, okay, we all have mental illness, let's support it. Like, it just takes a little bit more effort than I think they might have the capacity for if they're not even being treated by, like, a psychiatrist or a therapist or medications and things.
No, absolutely. So I think that within a lot of these government-funded programs, mm-hmm. whether it's just for housing or for mental health, I just feel like within the programs, they should just extend and have a little more based on that. So if you do have a program that's just strictly in Northeast, hey, we're also focused on these things. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, we're in Northwest, because they're all around the city. Mm-hmm. And the city has, a lot of funding for all of these things. Mm-hmm. So I feel like some of the things that they're focused on, it could just be cut down a little bit, and we can tend more to the mental health aspect.
Yeah. What are they focused on?
Well, for me, I feel like a lot it was just like job readiness and just housing. Where so, if they do have to, or they want to go and do yoga, or if they want to take meditation, or if they want to, it's more so, oh, you can do this on your time.
Oh.
Or, hey, this is a suggestion. But a lot of people don't really know where to start. Like,
Create a program for them to
Yeah.
show up to.
Absolutely, where they can feel comfortable and around their other peers, and if they want to talk to them about what they're going through, or they can all be supportive of each other. They need a community, and they need people to support them within their community.
Do you think the pushback from the people that create the program is they're not going to be able to think about meditation and yoga if they're hungry and unhoused? Or what would you think their psychology is behind their approach?
That's a great question. I think that is a part of it, and I think that another part is they don't truly believe that a lot of the consumers that we deal with are capable of having these hobbies and sticking with them and having something that they can just be consistent with. Yeah. So I think that's another reason why it's not a thing in the city. Because I've had consumers where, I would send them things. I would even, you have to find their interests. You have to find their interests. And I feel like a lot of times whether you're a case manager or CSW, you're not really, well, some, because not all, but you're not really you're not talking to them, you're not building rapport, you're not asking them, what are your interests? What do you do with your spare time? Because these are very serious questions. Well, when you're stressed, what are your stress relievers? Do you take nature walks? Do you go outside? What do you like? What were some things that you liked to do when you were a child? And I think a case-to-case basis, you have to, like I said, meet people where they are. So address them at where you feel they are in life, or where you feel like, if you felt like their trauma ended in childhood, well, what are some things that you used to do with your family? Did you used to take trips? Did you used to color? Do you like to draw? So once you find out their hobbies and their interests, those are things that can help them mentally.
Yeah, you gotta keep the humanity in the person. Like, just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're not human, right? Like,
exactly. And I feel like in a lot of cases, people will see, our homeless consumers or mental health, and they're scared. And a lot of times, no. Like, I think about myself and how I would address, the little girl inside of me if she needed help then, or if she needed a hug, or if she needed things. So when I look at it in that aspect, I'm like, you know what? Of course, they're human. They're human. If you prick them, they're going to bleed. Like, so it's fine. But I feel like a lot of times people are more so scared of them instead of embracing.
What are your frustration points with this line of work?
My frustration points are when I'm more so taken away from really helping my clients, and I'm in the office. I have to do with paperwork, and I have to do this, that. When sometimes a crisis can be at any time. It can be at any moment, and those are the times that you have to really stop what you're doing, put down your phone, and go right there. I do it even on my days off. It's been times I'm in bed, I'm watching TV, but hey, this person needs me. And, I do have to close my computer. I do have to address that at that time. But I feel like with all of the paperwork and just more so focused on the housing, we're not able to really get to where we really need. and the consumer's needs.
What led you to this work, and what differences do you see in that compared to the people that are scared or like don't treat them as humans?
Well, what led me to it? My brother, he has mental health needs, and growing up with a sibling who has mental health needs and seeing, some of his case managers and talking to them personally, I kind of figured like, wow, I can do this, and I really wanted to understand what I can do to help him more. So I just decided to take on mental health and as an advocate and also as a supporter in the community.
And that's not common, huh?
No. Usually people run. They're like, wait a minute, you have to deal with this? No. But I took it more so to embrace because I wanted to understand exactly what he was going through, which I will never, but just more so on, okay, this is how they address things. This is how I can have intervention within myself and my own family. How can I help my mom? How can I support her? And I would work very close with the caseworkers and have conversations with them about how I can address things with my brother. So now I feel like I've gained tools that I can share along with my family to assist them.
How was that journey for you as a sister?
It was very rough because I felt sometimes a disconnect because I wouldn't understand his conditions. And even though he would tell me like Neek, I'm really trying. For me, I was like, well, you're trying, but what's going on? I had no idea what was happening. And I felt like it was a strain on our relationship because of the question mark. It was a big question mark. So I started reading books. I started taking classes. I started really diving into his conditions, and talking to other people really helped me. Making my own community, oh, your sibling deals with this too. How do you deal with that? Do you feel guilty as a person? So once I was able to accept it and accept my role, it was easier for me to learn how I can connect.
Do you mind sharing what diagnosis your brother has?
Not at all. So he's bipolar, he has ADHD, and also schizophrenia.
How old was he when he was diagnosed with those?
So the ADHD came in his childhood, around 9. We're 5 years apart.
You're older or younger?
I'm younger.
Okay.
Yeah. So it came around 9. The bipolar came around 16, and throughout his journey, because he was in and out of jail for many, many years. Juvie probably since he was 16, and he was released, I want to say maybe 6 to 8 years ago. So I think that a lot of his mental health diagnosis and issues definitely stem from being in prison over the years, and just not being able to address a lot of the trauma that he was dealing with even before that. And I know that that's very common in our society as Black people, especially with men. So being a sibling of someone and seeing those things happen over time, and his mental health declining year after year, of course is concerning, as a family member. So I started talking to other people, other people who even had siblings, or if their sons were in jail. Are you dealing with some of the same things? When do you feel like it started? So I noticed that it was something that was very common in our society, even when I was a teacher, you know, they're so quick to label, especially with black men or young black boys. Oh, he can't sit down. He has ADHD. Or do you see how quick he did that? And he's bipolar. So I feel like once I realized that it was more common than usual in our community, I kind of seen what needed to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a pediatrician, and so I definitely, and I'm a pediatrician in Anacostia, so I definitely see he's 4 and he can't sit down, he's ADHD, let's get him some Concerta.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he's 4, he's got a lot of energy.
Exactly.
Find another way to get his attention. Maybe he's bored because he's smarter than the rest of the class, but that's never the consideration.
It's never the consideration, and especially because I did Montessori, and I did it for a public charter, so it was a lot of young black boys, you know, and it's, you know, it's free, and they've never been in Montessori, and they were, you know, and kids are excited when they see new things. They're excited, they grab things, they're kids. But I would see and even hear a lot in the Montessori community. I remember I went to a convention where Julian Bond spoke, and he touched on racism in Montessori. But it's a misconception that black children aren't meant for Montessori, that they're not meant for Montessori, and that was like mind-boggling to me, because us as, you know, black children, and me growing up, like I have like African roots, so we're so used to being independent and doing things for ourselves, and I found it kind of easier for my African American kids to, oh, I'll wash my plate, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, more so from other races. So yeah, I also do believe that kids are bored, but you know, people are just so quick to label instead of really meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
Because I had a kid like that in my class, and I said, you know what? I'm going to keep him busy. I see he likes to be here, he likes to be there. Let me see what he can do. So then I created jobs. in the classroom. You know what? You are an environmental specialist. Do you see something on the floor? Clean up. You're helping your environment. So I feel like when you meet people at their needs and you see what they need to be successful, you can't set them up for failure.
Yeah.
I hear you say this often. It's a kid's job to grow, and I think that's like super important.
Oh, me.
What you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
It's like that is technically stunning the growth of someone by giving them medication instead of letting them explore all that it is and creating an environment for them to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, you threw me out. When I say that, I usually mean like grow up.
No, I got you. But that's what I thought about as soon as you said that.
That's a good interpretation.
That is.
That's awesome. When you think about, so I remember you brought up caseworker versus, what was the letters?
Oh, CSW.
What's the difference and expectation of a caseworker versus a CSW?
So for a caseworker, I feel, and it depends if you're doing it for mental health or permanent supportive housing. But I feel like when you are a caseworker, your duties are more so within housing. It's more so that you're housing based. So this is first, everything else comes second. Where so if you're a CSW, like mental health is first, and then everything else comes second.
What does CSW stand for?
A community support worker.
No.
Yeah, so you're in the streets, you're in the community, you even do outreach. You know, you do outreach, you're talking to people, you're seeing where they're at. You might be at the library, you might be outside of Miriam's kitchen, you could be outside of a hospital, just people who need their needs met. And you can reach out to them and see how you can help them.
Yeah.
I got you. You just got a phone call. Is it important or?
I doubt it.
Okay, cool.
From what? Yeah. My friends call me. They were just
That's a good friendship.
Oh yeah. They don't they beat me up, y'all. So,
When it comes to the resources that the department that you work for is given, what are your feelings about what the city is doing or what it could do better resource-wise?
I feel like the resources, and of course, it's like a case-to-case basis of like what people give.
Yeah.
But I think just following up is important, and seeing if the resources that you are given are actually being utilized. And I think that all goes within making sure that you have goals. You have goals, and goals that are tangible. It's easy to have someone who's one of your consumers. Okay, your goal is to stop using drugs, but how realistic is that? If you're talking or dealing with someone who is a user or has been an alcoholic for 59 years,
you're not just going to stop tomorrow.
You're not just going to stop tomorrow. So I think that when we do have these resources and we do set these goals, they have to be tangible. Like, okay, and that comes with building rapport. So it's like, okay, hey, so how many beers did you have this week? Like, maybe you could cut down like maybe 2. So we have to be able to work together to, even if we are using these resources, because like I said, you can utilize them, but it's really about applying it.
That goes back to what you were saying before, like you got to get to the root of the issue. I'm an addict because I'm trying to self-medicate whatever happened in my life that got me here. And so if we address that, then I'm more likely to stop using drugs. But if we ignore it and act like it doesn't exist, then
nothing happens. Nothing happens.
What's a case that you handled personally that you reflect on it and you think, the org could have done better with this one?
That's a great question. So I had a case where I had, it was a mother and a son, actually both. And I really was focused on intervention for the son. And shout out to that mother, because she was a very strong woman. But all of her children had mental health illnesses, and she did also. So she would have times where she would tell me, I hate my children. I hate what I've done to my children. I hate that I'm like this, and I hate that my children are like this. So I came to the house one day for an intervention for the son, and I was really taken back from an episode that happened with the daughter, who was someone who wasn't even on my caseload. I talked to her.
Sorry, keep going. Keep going.
Oh.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So I had I talked to her previously, but very briefly, like, hey, how are you? Like, is everything going good with your job search? Trying to build rapport. But the pain that I seen in her eyes as I was talking to her mother, and she was triggered, and the episode went on for maybe 10 minutes, really took me a few steps back, and I had to really see where the help was needed. More so the mother, and after that I kind of, because you have to watch how you talk to people when they're triggered. It didn't become dangerous. She did like have a fork and kind of, she was expressing herself, but I had to evaluate the situation, stop, look around. I came for intervention for the son, who's in his room isolated because of his own habits. But he wasn't where the need was needed to be at that moment. I looked at the mom who's crying, tears rolling down her face. She needed emotional support. But overall, the daughter needed a lot of support. And I'm no longer with that caseload, but I do wish it was something that I could have done more for the family overall. I was able to really help the mother, but the daughter, and she, after I was talking to her mother directly, and after her being triggered, she was like, I don't need help. Like, I have everything on my own. And I just wanted to be like, baby girl, no one does.
What do you think the proper steps, if you could have still been in their lives, have been person by person? Because I know you thought about this quite often.
Absolutely. I think that I'll start with the daughter first. I think that with the daughter, I needed time with her alone. I needed time with her alone to really talk to her. She needed to not be around everyone because everyone, you can deal with trauma as a family, but we all can accept it differently inside of our minds. So I feel like the way that her mother was interpreting it triggered her because that's not how she interpreted her own trauma. And everyone's feelings are valid. I would never try to, take away how someone feels from a situation that they've been through, because I haven't been through that. So I feel like I needed to talk to her alone, to really understand her more and not so have an insight from someone else who can't necessarily tell me how someone else is feeling. So that's how I would have approached it. I didn't have a chance to. With the mother, I really wish that she could have taken on therapy. In our community especially, I feel like the seasoned ladies and gentlemen, I remember just growing up, even just being black, like, don't have anybody in your business. Like, why are you talking to them folk? Is something wrong with you? Like, these are the things that we would say to each other when it's actually okay.
Yeah.
And she was still in that mindset of, you know what, I don't need to talk to anybody. Aren't you here for me to talk to? That's good enough, right? But it wasn't. And it wasn't. And that not only triggered more so anxiety, depression, but even a situation almost leading to suicide. So we had to have a suicide prevention because of those things and not having people to talk to, and being a mother who's addressing 3 children with mental health needs, and you can't even address your own.
So the daughter's explosion triggered the mom into a deeper depression, anxiety, and suicide?
Yeah.
Or a suicidal
attempt. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then there's one more character. The son is isolating in the back.
Oh, yeah. And with him, it was hard to even talk to him. A lot of people who go through, because he was also the youngest, and especially with siblings, a lot of people who are dealing with a family with mental health needs and more so don't know how to talk to them about it will retreat and not talk to anyone. So it'll be times where he would just have outbursts of rage. And the rage was from him not being able to open up and talk about how he felt. And during these episodes of rage, he would say things about his father, his mother, the brother, everything's happening around him. So I think with him, it was a lot deeper than more so what I needed, I would have loved to been able to open up and really build a team around him to address all of these things because of the severity of his isolation, because he spent a lot of time isolated, which is not healthy at all for anyone.
So you're still in your same role that you were in when you were helping those people, is that right?
I switched roles, so now, yeah.
Because
My bad.
Because I was gonna ask, how does it happen where you're supporting a family and then now they're no longer on your case, so like that interrupts the continuity and the familiarity and the potential growth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So continue with that question. And that's another thing. If you're consistently helping someone and you do find that they're, doing better, and now you're gone. So now things, I feel like a lot of times it stunts their growth, and they tend to retreat and go back to how they were. And that happens a lot, and I even see it when I get new cases, and I'll have like my supervisor, he was doing so good, and then he had no one, because it's important. And I think a lot of people don't realize sometimes we're all they have. Like, just making a phone call. Hey, how are you today?
Yeah.
How are we feeling? They don't have someone to call them and ask them those things. So when you are building that rapport and that relationship, it's important to know that, because I had to tell myself that as well. Shanika, you may not always be in this person's life, and it's very hard. It's very hard when, even if someone passes and you have to, it's very hard in this field, building those relationships, seeing those people on a daily basis, helping them, and then all of a sudden you might hear some news and they're like, well, they're back on drugs, this, and sometimes you even feel guilty, and you'll wonder like, well, is it more that I could have done for them? So yeah, a lot of times that's even the factor of when you are new, they don't want to talk to you because I've broken down all these walls, and now here I am. I have to open back up. I have to reopen that wound. I thought that I was healing. I'm not. So things aren't going to be okay. Yeah.
What do you do for yourself after experiencing something like that, like mentally and spiritually?
And how does the organization support you? Like, do they provide anything for you to maintain your own mental wellness?
Well, one of my first questions was when I got there, I said, well, do we get free therapy? And of course, no. You would think so, right? I'm like, any link to therapy? No therapy, just helping people 24/7. Yeah. So, what I do, even before I go and see someone, I always take just a few minutes and I just have to reflect. And, and I pray a lot. And, I'll just ask to, like, can I be a vessel to be able to help someone, while I'm in the streets, just pray over protection, because things can happen at any given moment. Like I said, it was a controlled situation, but it could have became violent at any given moment. So yeah, I do yoga, I meditate, I even share like the meditations I do with my clients. I'll even do it with them. Like if they have a few moments, I don't mind. We could do some finger breathing. We can, do some balloon breathing. So yeah, a lot of that time for me, I will take a mental health day. Like if I feel overwhelmed, I turn my phone off. I turn it off, and I'm getting more so in a place where I love silence. Like, so if I get home, I might sit, I might turn the TV off, and I just need to sit in silence and be able to reflect on my day, even if I'm doing my notes, so I can see exactly how I need to evaluate what just happened.
Yeah. Do you get to take vacation? Or you can't be away that long?
I do, but I don't really. I need to take more. Yeah.
Does that come from guilt?
Sometimes, because so much can happen in a few days. Like, so much can happen. And a lot of the times when you do build this rapport and you're talking to people, you'll have to give your caseload to someone else while you're gone. And they're like, I did not talk to that person. Like, where are you? And then it's like, okay, I need to be back home.
So infrastructure-wise, that's a problem. That the company doesn't give you guys support, that the company's not providing free or cheaper forms of therapy, and that the company expects you guys, because you're paid, to show up for the emotional labor and not think about, hey, what is that doing to the people that we're hiring? And they've probably just accepted the high turnover rate due to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like the organization's mission is to make sure people are well. It sounds like the organization's mission is to save the city money, because they can put people in housing that reduces the $40,000 that it costs to have a homeless person. So
Is that you being spot on? Oh my God, I think I discovered the thing. Wow. With all that being said, where do you exist in this story of community service?
So, my, because I had to really think about goals that I wanted for myself. So, my goal is to, one day, I want to have my own wellness center in the city where I can have people who, hey, do you need food? What else do you need? You can come there. They will have a schedule. You can come and you can have wellness classes. You can learn how to take care of yourself. You can have therapy. You can have yoga. We'll have, a lot of different services for you, along with the services that you're getting, depending on, where you're at or what agency. But it's not more so of a agency. It's just a center where you can come and you can, get services.
I want to do a youth wellness center. That's one of my goals.
Amazing.
Because we don't have places where kids can go and be kids. Like,
no, they don't.
And like the full scope of being a kid. So that means like emotional nurturing, developmental support, extracurricular activities outside of sports and like games.
Because that's what everybody thinks.
Right.
That's the end all be all. I love that. That's dope.
And I think you and Neek would work well together on something like that.
Yeah, because their parents are gonna need the support that you're talking about.
Girl, okay. Well, we gonna chat.
We will.
This is the owner of Raising Risers. Beautiful company, beautiful organization.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was inspired by my work in Anacostia. I worked at Children's National in Anacostia for 3 years.
Okay.
And the burnout happened quickly because I'm working there 4 days a week. I have to see 20 patients a day. And it's a good day if like half of them don't have a thing.
Oh.
Most of them are going to have something. They don't have housing. They don't have food. The school is kicking them out because of behavior. The dad is not around. Somebody was, shot or killed in front of them. Or, like, there's always something that has to be addressed that is outside of medical care, which, that's what I'm trained to do.
Yeah. And then you end up just automatically, I remember when I was teaching, I would notice different things, and I feel like with the jobs we have no choice but to, help them or their needs in a different way.
Yeah.
Like if I see a child and they're asleep in class, I'm thinking, well, how many siblings do they have? Why can't they sleep? Are they sharing a room with somebody? Is someone up in the room? What's the housing dynamic? Or a kid, I'm hungry. So why are they hungry? Does their mom work? Like, do they have SNAP benefits? So with those things and like the basic needs of children, you know, I would see more so some teachers, well, we don't have SNAP this summer, we don't do this. And I'm like, well, they said they're hungry. Like, well, do you know anything about their parents? Like,
Right,
you know, so yeah, it's a lot of people aren't empathetic.
And I feel like there can be a lot of judgment around parents of kids who are struggling with those things.
Oh, absolutely.
But what I see on the other side is the parent is at work at night. So, yeah. I mean, like they're a single parent. They're at work at night. The older child is caring for the younger child. And you can't expect a 13 or 15-year-old to really enforce rules for a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old.
And act as a mother.
Right, yeah.
You know,
but that's what they have to do for their families, or else, you know, they will be homeless or they won't have food. So it's very complex. And so I want to create a space where Black people become aware of the barriers that exist, because I feel like awareness is everything.
Everything.
Start to change.
Yes.
And then provide resources for them to access the things that they need that will help them change. Because in modern or in today's healthcare system, that is not possible. Like the insurance company can change what medications they cover.
Right.
At the new year. It's like, oh, I was just on this last week, but now
I have
cover it.
Wait.
Yeah. And now I'm taking something inferior, which is like, are you really concerned about a person's health, or are you concerned about your bottom line?
And they're not.
And that goes around everything. So housing, food, you know, education. So I just feel like Black people need to, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Like nobody is going to help us. They've proven that over the last 300-400 years that we are not a priority, and so we have to make our sons a priority.
Absolutely. And building community. I think that's the lack of what we have, you know, in this generation. Everyone's like, oh, we're waiting till this person is present, this person. No, we have to focus on our neighbor. We have to think about the things that are going on around us. You know, what ward do you live in? Do you know who is, you know, head of your ward? Do you have a neighborhood watch? What do you have? You know, who are the people who are helping you? And I know that, well, because my grandparents, my grandmother came from Sudan, and when she came here to America, my grandfather, he's from the Caribbean, they would have people come to their house. And mind you, this is a huge family. But when they're coming from a different country, or they're coming from here, you can come and stay with us. You can come and stay with us. They built their own community. You know, it might have been a house full of maybe 30, 40 people, but everyone worked. Everyone had their role. And I feel like now, more so, we don't even know who our neighbors are.
Yeah.
If we need something, who's a brother or sister that we can call? We don't focus on those things. So that's why, you know, like you were saying, like a wellness center for the youth, that's a wonderful idea. And it's something that's needed. And I feel like, you know, even for mental health, like they would need that. Like no one even, medication, like vitamins, you know. I would even love to teach them how to make tinctures. Like, oh, you can come and you can make your own elderberry. And when people are doing things and it makes them feel good, you know. So yeah, these are things we need to have a community, or at least a successful community.
Yeah, right now we are in the fallout when it comes to the word community and what that used to be and what it means now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, where are you in your purpose right now, looking at the journey that you've been on?
So, right now I am taking classes to do holistic services with medicine, and I'm taking several wellness classes. So, you know, in conclusion, when I'm done, I just hope that I can really be able to have everything come together. I know it's going to take some time, but it'll be worth it. And I'm just making sure I'm still staying in contact and reaching out to the people who I'm still helping, because I know that they would do well with some of these services. So right now, strengthening my strengths. And making sure that I'm building clientele in a community where I can help, and still doing outreach and still talking to people and seeing what their needs are and if it's some way that I can help them.
That's beautiful.
One thing I struggle with is like I've seen the need and I want to fix it as soon as possible so that the people that I know get the benefit of what I'm trying to build. And so that makes me want to like work really, really hard, and I have unrealistic expectations about how long it will actually take to get something established, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
How do you balance that? Like, how do you keep that quiet while you take your time to build yourself up?
One thing I'm learning more so for myself is I give a lot of people grace, but I have to give myself grace, because I am a person who, like, I'm driven, I'm ambitious, and I want things done my own way. But I have to realize that it's only 24 hours in a day. And I used to think that everything was like hustle, bustle, hustle, bustle. And if I'm moving fast and if I'm doing things fast, it's going to be successful. Only to find that I did all of this and it's still 10 more steps to do.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to have grace upon myself, knowing when to rest when I need to rest, knowing when not to procrastinate when I'm procrastinating, and knowing that each day is a new day to, if I didn't finish this, it's okay. I can still reach another goal. So just giving myself grace and knowing that everything will fall in place when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And that nothing that is beautiful is rushed. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
That's well said.
So did you want the people to find you or no?
Yeah, they can.
Okay, where can the people find you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram. I'm Thuggish Black Hottie. And
Okay.
yes, Holistic Bae, Holistic Honey. So that's where you can find me, and reach out if it's any way that I can help you.
It's
All right, well, this has been another episode of Mental Health Monday. Thank you, everyone, for pulling up, including Neek. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Dap you up. Nice skin. What you using? That's some good product.
I'm cracking up.
Yeah, no, that was great.
It's a hand cream in my purse.
Okay, let's go. Like, subscribe, share.
comment.
So we had like a whole situation where I kept like cutting and stepping on the point, and she has the end, and I was messing it up. I'm really consistent on the mess up. So it's our running joke. But yeah, it's been another episode of Mental Health Monday. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Thank you.
Is this your first one?
It is.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.